welcome to the Pass the Mic podcast. It is Friday, August 7th, 2026, episode 215. And crashing the party on this week's episode, it is your man, the myth, the big RenDawg, Rene Perez, crashing the party this week, alongside your favorite mics in the world, the greatest NCL of them all, Michael Piotti and Michael Gervasi. How you boys doing?
Hello, and what a surprise. This is a big surprise for all our listeners, a first for Pass the Mic.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, and I know a certain someone that's going to be happy to hear the infamous words NCL.
Yeah, that's a throwback, Rennie.
That's definitely a throw. What does it mean, Rennie?
Well, you have to ask Piotti that question. He's the one that came up with that. It's not Norwegian Cruise Line, of course.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah,
a little term I'd throw around in the industry of a no chance loser.
Whoa, you said it.
Yeah. which Piotti not anyway, but I had to bring it up, for throwback sakes, and I know one person for sure is going to be happy to hear those infamous words. That's Annie Jarmo, no doubt about that.
Yes, Coach Ann. I saw her just recently at the golf course hitting the driving range. So.
Oh yeah,
Yep,
good to know.
yep.
I saw her earlier this season. Her and Matt came to see me at the ballpark because I usually post on my Instagram story my whereabouts, where I'm working and stuff.
Oh yes.
And so if anyone that follows me on Instagram would like to know my whereabouts anywhere that I post at the ballpark or at Ford Field or that sort of thing, then just let me know, or you can surprise me, because actually Annie and Matt, they actually surprised me out of the blue. They didn't even tell me they were coming to find me, and they just surprised me on a Sunday, so got to catch up with them and all that good stuff. So yeah. Alrighty, so before we get into yours truly, you both had feedback and errors from last week. So Mike Gervasi, what do you got?
All right, so let me start with Scott Skiles. He came up and Max said pretty sure he was drinking in college. Well, Mike Piotti, I found more about him in college.
Okay.
He actually was busted for drug use, including cocaine and marijuana, and actually
violated
probation and spent time in prison. So good old
Holy cow.
Wojo must not have been working at the
must have been
at the
asleep at
Detroit
the wheel.
News. Yeah, right. So a little Scott Skiles feedback. Max had a ton for us. You guys were kind of going back and forth. So he mentioned Rosie the Jetsons robot, maybe that the robot could clean up a mess in the classroom. I thought that was pretty interesting. He discussed how the longest mic of the week discussion in the history of our show.
Yeah, when I was walking, that took a while. We apologize to that. We apologize for that.
Well, we start talking Pistons, and I'm sure Rennie would, if it would have been me talking Michael Porter with the RenDawg here, I'm sure he would have had a lot of insight, and you probably will in a moment. Max, again, Blue Raspberry is overrated, much like Olive Garden. So Olive Garden making another appearance on the show.
Like a zombie.
Yeah.
Won't die.
Just cannot die. Ken, great as always. The thing about robots, he doesn't want to he was thinking more along the lines of will it put aides and things like that out of work in the schools? In the tips thing he mentioned, which I had discussed, he always tips at least 20% if he's in a restaurant. He's on the fence about tipping for carryout. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends on where and when.
And we talked about in our text with Max. Sorry to cut you off, but we both went to a Tiger game recently. And Rennie, maybe you can pop in about this. First of all, do guys tip you guys? I know we're getting ahead of ourselves for the show. Like you guys that take people to their seats, do you ever get tipped?
We get offered, but we don't take tips at the ballpark at all.
Yes. Oh, ushers can't. Okay.
No, we cannot. Yeah, and neither either. Whenever they do wheelchairs and stuff, so we do take tips whatsoever at the ballpark. But we do get offers though, but we have to turn them down.
Oh man, that's.
But in order, to make them happy, we just suggest them to go on the website and just post their feedback,
give a good review,
their experiences at the ballpark. That's all we could really ask for, out of them. So yeah.
So when Dr. Rice and I went to the game, we went to the Green Dot Stables slider stand.
Fun place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
No. I mean the one in the park.
I know. I understood.
I got a couple of sliders. I bought Dr. Rice his meal because he provided the tickets. Got a couple tall boys of Diet Pepsis, and put it all under the little camera, right? Which I love this whole setup. They have them at Ford Field too, where you just put the thing on there. But there's a nice lady helping me. Which, by the way, the national anthem was going on. She stopped me from ringing my item up. So remember, we've talked about this before.
Really?
Yeah, which I didn't. I'm like, I mean, but other people were still paying at other lines, but my lady must have been very patriotic.
Sure.
But that's not the point. I'm getting to the point. I went to tip because it comes up tip. There's no custom. It's 15, 20, or 22, which I sort of like. I wanted to give a couple bucks. I didn't really want to give 15% because it wasn't a cheap tab. I hit that thing like 5 times. It would not work.
No.
I even told the girl, I'm like, try it. Like, and she's pushing it. It wouldn't work. And I'm like, I go, sorry. Like, it is what it is. So there's no tip.
Did you find a way to make that happen so you wouldn't tip? And
I did. I hacked it. I was like, right. I'm like the Iranians.
So I thought it was people from Minnesota. So regarding Ken, a little bit more here about what he had to say. He agrees with the take that the first pitch is underrated, and mentioned Paul Woods, who must have thrown out, maybe RenDawg could comment on this, who must have thrown out a first pitch. He was a radio color analyst for the Wings, played 502 games, so he loved that. So I wanted to make sure I give it a shout out for that. So that's all I got.
I want to give a quick shout out. Tom Pack's collage was great once again.
Yes, Dan.
He made the Delta Danny
Android.
That
was outstanding. Yep.
So did you see that, Rennie?
I did see that. Yeah.
He did a good job. I think he had a picture of Crosby from that initial Winter Classic in the powder blues, so I was right about that they wore those way back in that Winter Classic. So shout out Tom Pack, another great job.
Yeah.
Even though I still prefer the older jerseys, like what Snoop Dogg wore in the Gin and Juice video that you guys mentioned on last week's episode, I prefer that jersey better though. In my opinion.
that is my favorite. The black with the city across the chest written across. So
yeah,
all right, that's it for feedback.
Them too.
Oh, Rennie, yes. What's yours?
So I agreed with Gervasi on his overrated. The blueberry. I said it was overrated, but not by much. I know Gervasi was a little bit harsher than I was, but I just don't have it that often. I don't know why, but that's just from my perspective. But I label it as overrated, and I agreed with Gervasi again on his underrated in Monopoly, because I loved playing Monopoly back in the day, because there were times where I would always go to jail almost every time I did play Monopoly, and Monopoly is just a fun game. And I'm sorry to rub it to you, Peyote, but life is just very overrated. I
can handle it.
I was not a fan of life growing up at all, but I had to agree with Gervasi on that. And then as far as the hot mic takes, to answer your question, Gervasi, from last week about the tipping, do I have people ask me for tips? I don't, but I try to be as fair as possible, to give a reasonable tip wherever I go, like whether it's a restaurant or at the ballpark in particular. So,
like I said, I'm going to stand by something. I just read a statistic from Miss Megan McCain, whose dad ran for president in 2008. American working salaries are. I'm not going to cite the specific statistic. Salaries are just down, and that's what. So I'm going to stand by that and say it again. Pay your workers more money. That's where the money should come from. So
that, my friend, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Peyote, I have a question for you, because you mentioned your hot mic take on the Flo Rida concert after the game.
Yes.
How was the sound quality where you were? Was the sound quality really good, in your opinion?
I mean, it was amazing. I thought it sounded great. I was up the third base line, very like the first couple rows. Dr. Rice was down along there, and it's funny you mentioned that, Rennie. As I saw the people on the field, your coworkers were handing out earplugs, especially to like the younger kids that were on the field with the field passes. And something they tell us folks as we get older is that going to these concerts, you should really wear these. My ears were ringing when I was walking out. I didn't really notice it till I was out in the corridor leaving the show. And I told Dr. Rice right away, I'm like, man, maybe I should have gotten some of those earplugs, because, man, that music was thumping, even for me up in the general seats.
No, that's good to know. Yeah, because the reason I brought it up was when Nelly performed, they had sound quality issues, from what I was told, from colleagues and from a few friends that went to see Nelly. I had a friend that was in the upper deck, former track star Katie Susko. Remember her?
Yep. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Former student council member.
That's right. Yep. She was in the upper deck that night, and because she thought I was working. Unfortunately, I was not. I was at a wedding that night for Nelly, and she had mentioned that there was sound quality issues that night, and she ended up leaving early as a result. And like you, I heard a lot of positive feedback from the.
I have not run into one person that had a negative thing to say about that show. Everything has been the opposite.
Hey, Rennie, I wonder if the quality is just because Nelly's not very good.
No, Nelly. No, I disagree. It's just he probably no. I mean, he's always been great. It's just he ran into a couple of heavyweights at the time when he debuted. You know, he ran to Eminem, ran into Jay-Z. You know, they were the biggest stars at that time in the early 2000s, obviously.
DMX, yeah,
DMX,
Nas was, yeah.
but
I get.
nonetheless, though, he still had a great run, though. But from what I was told, though, like he didn't do all his hits that what Florida did, according to Peyote, and that's what I was told about Nelly's performance. That he was an absolute mixed bag. So, but I was glad to hear that Florida delivered for Peyote, Dr. Rice, and whoever else was there that night. And, you know, I was
Yeah.
pleased. So yeah.
Great show. Great show. All right, Rennie, Mike of the Week. Who do you got for us?
Well, we got to do stock questions first before we do the mic of the week.
Oh, you want to do it that way? Whatever. Okay, we can do
Hey.
that. All right.
Always,
All right.
I think we've always done it that way.
Okay.
Before.
All right. He knows the show better than I do. Stock question, Rennie. Your birthday, you can go out for any meal or have a home cooked meal. What is that meal going to be?
I prefer a home cooked meal. I don't go out
Okay.
to dinner that often. Um, but one of my favorite meals, and shout out to my late grandmother, on my dad's side. She was one of the best cooks in the world. She cooked the best chicken flautas. And I remember back in high school, I remember bringing them in for one of my classes. I think it was for English. I think it was 10 or 11 or something like that. It was one of the two. And everyone raved about the chicken flautas. All it is just it's shredded chicken. You put some seasoning on it, and then you cook it up. And then, as far as tortillas, I highly suggest you use corn tortillas with that. Some people use flour tortillas, which is I don't mind honestly, but I prefer everyone to eat chicken flautas with the corn tortillas instead, and that would be my meal I would want for my birthday is chicken flautas, and I don't eat them
All
too
right.
often, anyway, so I probably eat it maybe once or twice a year usually.
So
Okay.
let me ask you
Special.
this, Randy. You know what question's coming, but let me preempt that question by asking you, when is your birthday?
You guys will love this. It's actually on Thanksgiving this year.
Really?
Oh, my
This
goodness.
year, yep,
Wow.
yep. I'm fortunate to be falling on Thanksgiving, which you all will probably know what I'll be doing. I'll be working this game. The team it's to the right of me. The Lions game on Thanksgiving. So you know that I'll be doing, no doubt about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to your, if you could have dinner, we've just opened this up with any one person, who you eating with?
My late grandfather on my mom's side, my papa, he passed away a couple of years ago. Just an amazing guy to be around. The one thing I kind of wish that I would have done while he was around, like he was a great family man. Like he always cared about everyone. He always checked up on all of us and all that sort of thing and all that. But I kind of wish I would have went to Kentucky with him more often to you know adjust to his part of town where he grew up, because he grew up in the mountains down in Kentucky, and I kind of wish I would have went down there for that at that time. But as far as having dinner, we would eat anything. Like back when I used to live in Southwest Detroit growing up, he would kidnap me in the middle of the night. We would go hit up Dooley's Coney Island in Southwest to get our Dooley dogs, and then he would also get his pie as well. So that was always a tradition when me and him would always go. We would always go to Dooley's and have a Coney dog, and then our Dooley dog, I should say. They're Coney dogs, but I label them as Dooley dogs because that's been that way for years. And then he would get his pie. Unfortunately, they don't sell the pies anymore, but that was always our tradition. And so he would be the one that I would have dinner with, no doubt.
Okay.
Great. Some nice family orientated answers there. I like that. And I
Sure.
like the tip of, reflecting. I think this is something we can all say, wishing we could
Yeah.
have done more with people, looking back, right? Like wishing we could have done these things. And that's a good message for the people that you have with you today is go
Oh,
do those things.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
And
You'll never regret spending time with family. That'll never
Nope.
happen.
Nope.
amen to that.
All right, Rennie, now, Mike of the Week.
I do. Do you guys know? Have you guys heard the phone number 281-330-8004?
I offhand, it's not ringing a bell for me.
I hope you didn't just out somebody.
Well, I outed you both because you guys apparently didn't know the phone number. So I'm gonna go. It's a rapper, by the way. He was known in the mid 2000s. And I'm gonna go with the lyrics to this song. Mike Jones, the one and only. You can't clone me. Got a lot of haters and a lot of homies. Some friends and some phony. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me. Which is the edited version, by the way. You know, we have to
Family
be.
friendly.
So my Mike of the week is Mike Jones, Houston rapper, best known for his hits "Still Tippin'" and "Back Then." And then he also was featured on a couple of songs. He was featured on the song "Bad" with the Ying Yang Twins, um, who used to work with Peyote's favorite in the world, Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. Ying Yang Twins did. And then Mike Jones also worked with T-Pain on a song called "I'm in Love," but I'm not going to say the other title. You know, have to keep it family friendly. But it's called "I'm in Love." So if you remember,
with a dancer, with you know,
I'm sorry,
with a dancer, with yeah.
T-Pain's not a dancer. What are you talking about?
No. Never mind. I'm in love. Never mind. It was okay.
But anyhow, but Mike Jones is my Mike of the week, and the phone number I mentioned 281-330-8004. He had it on his shirt in the Back Then video. So if you watched the music video Back Then, it had the phone number 281-330-8004. It was a popular number back in the mid 2000s. Then the number got disabled for a while, and then Mike Jones, I looked this up earlier this year, he ended up turning the number back on, so you can technically call the number again.
Oh,
yeah, which I was mildly surprised to see about that too. So yeah.
all right. Interesting. Okay. Nice Mike of the week. All right, now time for our all about Rennie talk. We want to talk a little bit. We met the RenDawg back in the day, of course, when he was a student at Carlson, but he was not a full Gibraltar student. He mentioned his time in Southwest with his family. So we want to focus a lot of the conversation about his profession and his career working in many of the stadiums. But I do want to start with and talk about, much like when we had with our guest a few weeks back, what it was like in your path coming from Southwest Detroit to a brand new school. And again, I talk about, man, if you want to talk about hard, you came in middle school, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, I was only his shoemate for a few months.
But okay, so
wow.
the very end of eighth grade. So, boy, that had to be hard. The end of, I mean, that's so much is going on just in general at the school. But in a way, it's nice, I guess, for ninth grade because it's sort of like a clean slate and there's some standard movement there. But I just want to know what it was like doing that, your interactions with that, the change, how different it was there, and then how your education at Carlson High School, shaped who you became as an adult. And then I think we're going to have some questions about like your work at all the various stadiums and shows. So why don't we start with that?
Yeah, so I had moved out to Gibraltar, not there anymore, of course. So I moved out there half of eighth grade, and it took time to adjust. Like it took a little bit. So when I moved out there, the environment was way different than what it is living in Southwest Detroit. So it took a little time, and when I first got there and started meeting people, I had the mustache which I have today. Because I grew a mustache pretty early. I think it was like 13, 14 when I started growing the mustache, and I eventually became that guy. But at the same time, though, like I was obviously a hated guy at that time too. Because I still had the tough mentality, which took about a year or two to get rid of, and then eventually turn things around and all that sort of thing. And that's what I ended up doing. After ninth grade, once I started getting into sports, which I did football, and then of course track with you afterwards. Even though track, I mainly just did it for fun, which being around everyone involved in track, it was a lot of fun. And I do have something I do want to mention about track later in a little while about that. But yeah, so I did that, and then so as I turned things around, as far as the studies was concerned, like my biggest strength was social studies, so I like learning about history and all that sort of thing. And then English wasn't bad. I didn't mind reading books at that time. Like one of my favorite books that I liked reading was Othello, because I did like reading Shakespeare, quite frankly. I know a lot of people like Romeo and Juliet, which for me, I think that novel's overrated for me. But I thought Othello was a really good story. Now, I want to ask you guys this. Back in your days when you guys were coming up, what were books that you guys read back in those days that you felt that is not worth reading nowadays for younger viewers that are listening in? If you had to pick any book.
Mike, go ahead.
Well, I see, it's funny. I see a lot of people hate Gatsby gets a lot of hate. I'm not doing it, but man, I tell you what, when I had to read the Scarlet Letter. Oh, sweet Lord. Oh,
Uh,
and in all honesty, this is fitting now too with the movie. I didn't like the Odyssey at all, at all. Like I did not like the book at
well,
all, which just wasn't my thing. I think I've mentioned that before on here.
So, Mike, you said you didn't the Scarlet Letter? You didn't like that?
No, because you know what, and what's funny is the story itself is actually real good. Excuse it, my dog's gonna go a little crazier. The story is really good. It just takes so long when
Yeah.
it finally gets to the end. When you realize how juicy of a story it is, you're like, why did it take so long to get to this?
Those were the two I immediately thought of because I read both in high school. Later on in life, and I know we do this at Carlson. I think we still do it. I read 1984. I think that's a really good one.
yeah.
I think that's one that any era can read. I agree with you, RenDawg, about Romeo and Juliet. I was not. I understand why, but I agree with you fully. But yeah, Mike, it's funny. The Scarlet Letter was immediately the one I thought of. That it just seemed to drag and drag and drag. And I've liked reading since It's not that I didn't like reading either. That one just seemed to take forever to me.
I wound up seeing the movie version, and the movie version was really, really bad. And I never read the book, but the movie version was just an absolute waste of time. Demi Moore and Gary Oldman, great actors, was just totally wasted in that movie. So, save you all the headache. Don't ever watch the movies, The Scarlet Letter. Just read the book instead.
So,
That's what
RenDawg, if you don't, let me come back. I want to bring this back. I'm curious, and I didn't get to ask Kimani this question. And I don't know. I know we don't want to spend too much time on school and everything because we want to hear about your job right now. But did you keep in contact with any of the people from the old neighborhood that you grew up with?
Not really. I only like I talked to a couple people, but that's really about it. Like once I moved out to Gibraltar,
That
things
was
changed
it.
very quickly. Once I started hanging around the right people, which I still great friends with to this day. That's that's what it came down to, because you want to be around the right people, because if you're around the wrong people, then you're going to go down the wrong path. And then when I first moved out to Gibraltar, when you guys met me, well, I met Peyote before I met you, Javasi, and at that time, of course, I had the attitude, and then eventually turned it around, and so that's what you got to realize. In those situations, if you're moving to a different district, anywhere you go, I mean, you'll eventually have to change it up and eventually accept the environment where you're at and so on, and
Sure.
just hope you are successful and all that good stuff.
Okay.
I think Mr. Bailey has said many times that you're probably like one of the biggest 180 stories from when you came in eighth grade to where you ended up. And I can only speak, you mentioned that. And again, I was your coach, and, you went from, sort of having a little rough edge and an attitude. And we joke around sometimes about the 9mm and shooting the lock off a locked up bench, in ninth grade,
Yeah.
to being a respected student council member.
Yeah.
You have, like you said, you still have friendships and relationships with a number of these Carlson grads that are the top of the top, that you are a part of that group.
Yes.
And then, your relationship even with administrators. We can talk about that group photo that was down there. Mr. Stevenson, Mr. Quinn were in that photo with you.
Yeah.
Where you came from in those last weeks of eighth grade to your last week in 12th grade was a huge shift. And that says a lot about you as a person.
So,
Yeah.
Mike, let me interrupt here. It's funny you bring that up. When we ran into him at the game, and maybe this is a good segue to talk about the job, but RenDawg, kind of talk about that. First off, we talked about it because Mr. Bailey, Max brought it up, the 180 that he did. And then RenDawg, talk about your interaction there with Mr. Bill Stevenson.
No, well, Stevenson, I mean, he was an amazing principal. Like, for the few years that I had him, he was an absolute wonderful guy. And when I learned from Max and from Javasi that he was going to be with you guys, I was pleased. I was pleased to see him, because it had been since graduation since I last saw him. And then when I encountered with him, Peyote, just so you know about how me and him encountered, he mentioned that he's related to one of my colleagues, also another great colleague, through my colleague's wife. And
Okay.
yeah, and when I learned about that, it literally made my day because the guy that he's related to is among my favorite colleagues. Even though he was not there that day, but when I learned about that, it literally made my day. And then
Yeah.
and
Go
then
ahead.
I
I'm sorry, Ren.
and then I texted him right away when I informed him about Bill Stevenson being related to him through his wife. He was very pleased to hear about that as well. Now go ahead, Jamas.
So yeah, and what was okay? A couple things about that. First off, the connection. Also, Mike Piotti, I'm kind of telling you this is Mike Laginus, former Carlson principal, is also involved in the 6 degrees of separation there. But the other part of that is Rennie, you mentioned it, and then Bill Stevenson talked about it. Your guys, you had an encounter at graduation that you didn't forget, nor did he. So I thought that was really, really cool to hear that story too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because like I said, like Bill was a wonderful principal, like very nice guy, well respected, and that's what you want, leading your school and all that sort of thing. Whether you're a principal at a high school, middle school, elementary, preschool, I mean, you want great leaders like that, and Bill Stevenson, no doubt, was one of them for sure.
Sure. Okay.
All right, excellent. So now, why don't we talk a little bit about your work? Why don't you tell us all the different places you are? I don't want to. I mean, I say usher, but really, I want to know what like the actual title is, because that's like an old school term, I think, for Major League
Sure.
Baseball stadiums.
Yeah.
So, like, which stadiums do you work at? What does the job encompass? Like, what is your normal role? I guess it would be different. I've seen you at Ford Field. I've seen you at Comerica. I know you were just at the Big House.
Yeah.
So, like, let's start with that. So, at least get the basics, so we're not misstating things or
So
misassuming things.
yeah, so I started with Comerica Park first because I needed a change of scenery. So I started there in 23, and and then I got welcomed in very quickly by a lot of my colleagues, and I still interact with everybody. I always try to make sure I make time with all of them. So what I do is, depending on because I bounce around, so I'm not always at 116, 117 where Javasi saw me at. I'm there. I've been there a bunch this year at that section, but I bounce around everywhere. Like I scan every once in a while, particularly weeknight games, and then like a Friday game and so forth. So I usually take tickets and then help out guests. But one of my favorite days working at Comerica Park is on Sundays because Sundays is Kids Day. Should always be about the kids. They get the free rides, free face painting, and then weather permitting, as long as it's a nice day, the kids get to run the bases after the game.
Awesome.
And I get to be out there anchoring the kids run, making sure kids are on the right side, parents are on the left, and so forth. And I love seeing that. Like I want to see the kids have fun, and then even before or during the game, if they get a souvenir, I love seeing kids getting souvenirs. So like there was a couple of times like I was out in left field and I found a couple baseballs because out in left field. They open a half hour before everyone else does because they get the season ticket holders, the 1901 in left field. And I found a couple baseballs, so low key, I would just put them in my pocket, and then like if I walk by, if I see a single parent with one child, I just surprise them and just
Oh,
and it literally makes their day with that. So I usually do that.
outstanding. Can you add on any other positive? I do want to ask you about the negative too, but can you any other positive aspects of the job? That sounds like a great one right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like I think personally, it should be all about the kids getting any sort of souvenir, whether it's a ball or giveaway or that sort of thing. It should always be about them. At least from my perspective, I think it should. Yeah, and then we also do like one or two concerts a year at Comerica Park. Like my first year, we had one. We had Pink. 24, we had two concerts. I think we had two. Was it two? Yeah, we had two because we had Steve Miller Band, Def Leppard, and Journey for one show. Steve Miller Band was great. Journey overrated, of course. Def Leppard, but Journey very overrated. And then we also had Green Day, which in 24 was actually a bit of a scare because I was working the floor, and they ended up running off the stage, and coming to find out there was a drone in
Oh
the
yeah.
ballpark.
Really, I didn't know
I
that.
going on. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Because it made me think about what happened in Las Vegas a few years
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Now, the concert there, because I had a couple friends that was at that concert, and when that happened, thankfully they ran off and everything was fine on their end. But they won't talk about that story, and I don't want them to talk about it, so
Oh
we
no.
just that because I know it's dramatizing, situations like that. But thankfully, with the Green Day concert, it didn't happen like that. Thankfully, so they just ran off. It was delayed for like a good 15 minutes or so, and then the drone was caught, and then Green Day was able to resume their show from there. Then last year, we had probably the smoothest concert I've ever worked. I worked the Lumineers at Comerica Park. I never listened to them. I don't know if you guys have listened to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was probably one of the most smoothest concerts probably I've ever worked in the near 4 years that I've been working stadium events. And then for Ford Field, I worked for Safe Management. I started there in June, and I started with, quite frankly, the Taylor Swift concert. That was my very
Oh
first.
man.
Wow.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was and I was a little nervous at first because she draws the crowds, and
Sure.
but I'll tell you what, her show was very smooth. The crowd was well behaved. There were a lot of kids. Everyone was all singing her songs, and it was very smooth. I didn't deal with any issues. I had a few people try to sneak onto the floor by me, but I prevented that because I don't play around like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I was doing other events for Safe Management because also we do the Big House, like I mentioned. I did Morgan Wallen, and then I do Michigan football as well. If I want to work those games, which obviously I do want to work the Michigan games. Yeah. So
let me just ask, since you mentioned that, you don't play that and all that stuff. What are the negative parts? What are some of the negative things you've had to deal with on the job?
As far as the games, I don't deal with too much negativity. I mean, you get a few people that are unhappy as far as like stuff not going their way. Like we did the kids run the last time. We had a parent complain to me and to my one of my bosses that he wanted to walk their kid, but you can't walk the kid. One of the rally cats can walk their kids if their kids don't want to walk by themselves and so forth. Yeah, so I deal with that, but I don't let it get to me.
Good for you.
I just move on from that. And then as far as the concerts, now Comerica Park, I haven't really had like too many issues for the concerts at Comerica Park. I haven't dealt with any of that, thankfully. Ford Field and then the Big House for the concerts has been quite an adventure to say the least. Because I've been on the floor almost every time, and then of course we get a lot of people just doing dumb things, and then we have to get the courtesy team and potentially the police involved and so forth,
Ooh.
and all that stuff. But for the most part, I haven't really dealt with too many issues, at least on my end, in the 3.5 years that I've done these events over there as well.
Okay.
So would you say for every 10 fans that you interact with, how many are a pain in the neck? 1, 1.5?
Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right. About 1.5.
That's a pretty good number. It's less than I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely not 10. Definitely not 10 out of 10. Now,
no, I don't know if I'd still be working.
Right. Yeah. So
it sounds like your biggest thing that you've dealt with over the years is just people that don't have floor tickets trying to get on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much. But as far as the games and stuff, like I don't have too many issues, but there is occasions where people are just doing unnecessary things. Like I'm not even going to mention the things that the people do. Want to keep it family friendly, of course. And,
yes. Well, I just want to say, as somebody that's been to, and I've interacted with you at Comerica Park and Ford Field, as I mentioned, I found you during the bowl game, the Pitt Toledo game a couple years ago. Your people skills and the way you interact and treat people that you've known for a while, or more importantly, people that are just there, like you said, finding the kid and give them the ball. Because it's one thing to be, hey, my boys are here, but you're like this with every fan that you interact with. And I think the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Lions, and Michigan football should be very happy that they have an employee like you as a ambassador, I would say, because that's the stuff people remember. I know when I took Nate to PNC Park last summer, the guy that sat us in our seats that would be the similar job to you was amazing guy. Talked to me for a while, took pictures of Nate and I with the skyline in the background. I'm sure these are all kind of things you do as well. I always see your Instagram things, and people like that, that love their job. But again, and you talked about it, kids being the most important part, that makes the ballpark experience. And I hope people are doing these reviews and stuff because it should be commended. It's like, if we talk, Mike and I talk about this. When it's not, you don't get any props when you're doing what you're supposed to or going above and beyond. You're going to get props with that dad that probably couldn't run with his kid at the bases. That's going to be the person that types something up, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And then also too, like I try to give my other colleagues recognition too. Like I don't try to think about myself or anything like that. You know, I will continue to do what I do as far as making efforts to impress the fans. But there's other colleagues too that goes above and beyond too. So I make sure they get their recognition too, because you know, Comerica Park, we have a lot of amazing colleagues, and I love to mention all of them, but I don't want to leave anybody hanging.
We have that issue when we do our teacher episode.
Yeah, so I don't want to do anything like that. So, but we have a lot of great colleagues up there. It's a different ballpark there than it is at Ford Field and so forth. So yeah, and then as far as you know, safe management, I want to give a shout out to a dear friend of mine. I've worked with her quite a bit. Give a shout out to my dear friend Kelly. I mean, I've worked with her for 2.5 years. She supervises me anywhere I'm at, whether it's the Lion games or the concerts, and you know, and the great thing about being with Kelly, she always looks out for me and my other colleagues that I work with, and make sure that we're all being taken care of. And then if trouble occurs, you know, I back her up any trouble that occurs with her and all that good stuff. And another thing about Kelly too that's amazing about her too is like she'll go above and beyond for anybody unexpectedly too. And she's also a very good baker as well. She bakes cookies, she bakes cupcakes. She's very good at that stuff too. So I'm gonna give my dear Kelly a shout.
Is she listening?
She'll be listening when we leave the Foo Fighters concert because we're filming on Tuesday, and as the episode comes out at 12:01 Friday morning, we'll be leaving the Foo Fighters concert. So she'll be listening on the way home. I'll make sure of that, and I'll be making sure others will be listening as well. So I'll be doing my part as far as promoting. I'll do my best on Facebook, X, Instagram, and so forth. So I'll be putting it out there, no doubt. So we'll see what happens.
Can we? Do you mind sharing? Because like as you mentioned, you share a lot on your Instagram where you're working. You put on your story very often. And what I also love is your end of the year summary pictures. You know, Tom Pack has his episode summary. Rennie does this great thing where he does this collage of all of his visits. I'm sure your guys' picture will be in there. He does it on Instagram. Do you want to share your Instagram handle? Maybe you'll grow some followers and people will come find you at these games.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So it's the same as my X account. My Instagram is Big RenDawg, BigRenDawg 313. That's the Instagram post. If you want to follow me on there, and let's say if you're attending a Tiger game or a Lions game, and I'll usually post my Instagram story of my whereabouts, whether I'm at a section or I'm at the gate. That's usually where I'll be at. So that's
go and say hello.
That's the name, Big RenDawg 313.
And then you might end up in the year-end summary photos if you get a quick picture.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well, maybe. I don't know. It is what it is. All right. It's time for Overrated, Underrated. Rennie picked this out, too. He's like an executive producer for this episode. We have to give him his, we have to get him on the payroll here, Rennie.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath for that check. All right. Overrated, underrated. Now, do you want to go first, Rennie? Or do you want us to go? How do you want to do this? I don't want to step on any toes.
Well, we know Gervasi's not going first because the last time I was on, Gervasi was he had a fit with me putting him on the spot. So I'm going to give Gervasi some time.
Okay.
So I'm on this one. So I'll start my overrated.
All right, overrated game show. It's all yours.
So my overrated, it's Let's Make a Deal. They air it at 10 o'clock every day on CBS before The Price is Right. And I just think the game format's quite overrated. And if you've never watched the show, so I'll give you an example of one thing that the host, which is Wayne Brady, by the way, he hosts the Revival. The original back in the day was the late Monty Hall. He hosted Let's Make a Deal way back when, back in the 70s and so forth. So let's say I'm the host, and let's say I pick Gervasi out of the audience, and then I offer him $1,000. He can take the money and sit down, or he can look behind the curtain to see if there's a prize. So he can either take the money or go for the prize. And it could be a prize or it could be a zonk. And how the zonk works, and I love the zonk music. It's a little similar to one of your little sounds, which I'm glad you guys don't have to mute me, thankfully, since we're doing the video thing. So it ain't going to be wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. We have something similar.
Now, the zonk sound, if it is a zonk, it'll go like this. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. That's the Zonk sound there. But the gameplay for me, let's make a deal. I don't think it's that exciting. It's quite overrated though for me. So I'm going. Let's make a deal is overrated.
Okay.
Are you ready for mine, or do you want to go, Mike?
I'll go and we'll do
right.
it the same order. I was prepared this time, so I'm not going to throw a fit. I'm going Fear Factor. This has been brought about. To me, it's just a series of gross dares. I hate seeing the
Our
commercials for them.
competitor, Joe Rogan,
Yeah, I think it's
friend of
just
the show.
gross. I don't like it at all. Oh, by the way, I got a text from Ken about Joe Rogan too. 80 million plus last year, something like that. And so we're definitely
Is that how much he made?
I think that's what the text was.
I think we're a little under that. Don't tell Dr. Rice.
A little bit. Don't tell Dr. Rice. Yeah, but I just think the show's overrated. The premise, everything about it's just a series of gross dares. And like I said, I hate seeing the commercials themselves. So, and it must be popular because it seems to get rebooted and brought back out. So, but that to me is overrated.
I did watch it in the early 2000s though, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it was entertaining. Yes, it's gross to watch, but it was very very much entertaining though at that time. And they did reboot it. They had Ludacris as a host, and it was nothing on the Joe Rogan level. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, but it's okay though. We have every right to agree or disagree, so we'll leave it at that. So, Peyote, what's your overrated?
And again, Rene has been texting us about this, and I said this is the one I think might cause a little controversy. My overrated game show is The Price is Right, and I'm going to tell you why. And I know this is like a fan favorite; it's legendary. I feel as if there's, when I think of game shows, I try to think of things that involve a little more thinking than are just dumb luck. And to me, I always hate the part when the person bids $1. To me, that's like a cheap way out. And then some of to me, and again, I just don't find it entertaining at all. I know it's a long-standing, and again, this is probably going to get some big hate. Again, it doesn't mean bad. I just think it's rated as like this top game show, number 1 or 2 of all time. I don't think it is. I think it's overrated. It doesn't involve that much. Involves more luck than anything.
I disagree with you big time, more than feedback, in my opinion, though. Now, let me ask you this, Peyote. Do you prefer Drew Carey as a host, or did you prefer Bob Barker?
I think I like all of these older, so I like Bob Barker. I like the older shows. Yeah.
Well, I got a fun fact for you, and you'll be surprised to hear this. So, since the year you were born, Peyote, so beforehand, it was originally a 30-minute show, and then they turned it into a full hour the year you were born. And
1975.
Yeah, wow. And it's been a full hour ever since. Yeah.
My cousin John was on The Price is Right in the last year or two. Yes.
What, with Drew Carey?
He got called down, with Drew Carey and everything. He made it up on stage, I believe. He terribly mispriced like a bag of chips or something that was just Dots Pretzels. My wife is yelling from downstairs. Terribly mispriced a bag of Dots Pretzels and didn't win because of it.
No.
Thank you, Elisa. Input on the show.
All right. Oh, that's so funny.
I actually have other family history. My mom's mom, my grandma Olga, was on Wheel of Fortune years ago. She has passed along. She made it all the way to the end, and the final puzzle was set the record straight.
Yeah,
it was so long ago that she was on. It was, remember when you guys, Rennie, I don't know if you remember. I know you're a big game. When you'd win, you'd go shopping you wouldn't win money. You would go, oh, I'll take that dog for $75. You'd spend your money in a little and then the final puzzle, it was set the record straight. And she guessed, and she had most of the letters, and she was always really good at it. She played at home, and right as the buzzer sounded, she said, "Set the reward straight." So again, another one just so close, but didn't get it. So, we do have some bloodline game show history in my family. Maybe I need to enter in one of these.
Now, was it with Pat Sajak, or was it with?
Yeah, that's Pat Sajak. It was Pat Sajak, but a much younger Pat Sajak because this was a while ago. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember Pat Sajak. Well, I didn't remember, but I watched old clips. They did a daytime version before the nighttime version, and you know how he closed out the daytime version? And this is going to surprise you too. He wound up kissing Vanna White to close it out, and then the late creator Merv Griffin went up to them unexpectedly as they're kissing on camera for like a good 10, 15 seconds or so. That's a good close out the daytime. And then years later, several years before Sajak eventually retired, he ended up revealing he was eventually bald all along.
Oh, so he
paid for many years. And I know Gervasi and I, he actually poked fun at me last Wednesday about his bald spot, which I eventually showed mine too.
Yeah. Well,
And
listen, I'm Pat Sajak myself right here. Maybe I need to get a toupee.
yeah,
All right, underrated game show. We'll go in the same order then. So go ahead and Rennie, what's your underrated?
I'm gonna go with two game shows here. One's no longer on air, but one is on the air. I'm gonna start with the one that's still on air. It is Pressure Luck. They air it
Okay.
every summer on ABC. They're airing it right now. They also show reruns on Game Show Network at 9 o'clock. At least as of now, it's hosted by Elizabeth Banks. The original was hosted by Peter Tamarkin back in the mid '80s, and it drew controversy in 1984, where a contestant named Michael Larson, he was a
I was going to ask you about this.
yeah, he was an ice cream truck driver from Ohio. He ended up going on the show and ended up going for the big bucks and just focused because apparently he used a bunch of TVs back in those days to study which squares to use and ended up hitting those big ones every time. And he had the record 110,000 at that time. I actually rewatched the episode late last night when I had some time at work. And yeah, and I didn't think it was that controversial to me. I mean, like, how in the world are you going to cheat? Like, you're just picking a square. If you hit money, if you hit a prize, sweet. If you hit a whammy, it is what it is. But the best part about Pressure Luck though is the infamous whammies. Every time someone hits a whammy, they always do the fun parts. And I'm going to do a fun part about this. I hope you guys get a good laugh at this. Ah, I'm gonna take your money. Ha 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 ha. Like that,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what though, Elizabeth Banks though, like she's an amazing host. She does a whole lot too, but she does a very good job with the revival of Pressure Luck. She does a very good job hosting. The contestants all have fun with it, and the money is much higher nowadays than it was in the 1980s, of course, because
Well, inflation.
yeah, because so they still have the same format now. If you win the game, you go on to the bonus game where if you bank up to $500,000, you win $1,000,000 if you get up to $500,000 without hitting a whammy. So that's the
Mhm.
bonus game, for the revival because it's a full hour. Because back in the day it was a half hour and now it's a full hour. So that's my one overrated or underrated game show. Excuse me, not overrated. My second game show that's underrated. It's no longer on air. They rerun it on Game Show Network still. It's called The Chase. It was hosted on Game Show Network in 2013 by Brooke Burns. Are you guys familiar with her?
I am not.
Nope. I don't even know the
She was
show, to
on
be honest.
she was on a show I'm sure you guys probably did not watch. She was on Baywatch and Baywatch Hawaii back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then she hosted the short-lived Dog Eat Dog in 2002, which is not a family-friendly show. At least in the first season, it wasn't. I don't even want to describe that show. But the Chase. So how that game works? The show is based in the UK, and they brought it to the US. So you have a chaser. You're going against three contestants. You go one at a time. The contestants, the host asks the questions to the contestant. You get 60 seconds to ask as many questions correctly. And for how many you get right, you earn $10,000 for every correct answer. So, like, let's say if you get 7 right, that's $70,000. Then you take it to the board against the chaser, and then you get $70,000. And you would need 5 correct answers. If you want to play it safe, the chaser will offer you a low amount of money, so let's say $10,000, and you would only need 4 correct answers if you want to play it safe and only want to be 3 steps ahead of the chaser. Now, if you want to be closer to the chaser, they'll offer you a big amount of money, so let's say $200,000, and you would only be 1 step ahead of the chaser. However, if the chaser catches you, you're out of the game. And there's been a couple occasions where they've caught all 3 contestants, and then afterwards you go to the final chase. Now, of course, if you bank the money, you go to the final chase, and the final chase is very exciting. So, depending on how many there is, if there's 1, 2, or 3, you get 2 minutes to get as many questions correctly as possible, and you get, depending on how many steps, see it. So it could be a 1-step head start, 2-step head start, or a 3-step head start. For the amount you get correct in the 2 minutes, the chaser has to catch them. Now, when it's the chaser's turn, if they get a question, if the chaser gets a question wrong, clock stops, and then the contestant gets a chance to answer the question correctly. If they get it right, they push the chaser back, and the more pushbacks, the better a chance of them winning. And there was one episode. You guys remember James Holtower, who was on Jeopardy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he was one of the chasers for a couple of seasons. So they brought it back in 2019. They had Sarah Haynes as the host. Sarah Haynes from The View, very overrated show, which thankfully the right draws.
RenDawg, let's not get on The View here. I don't need Sean Hannity commenting on
Oh,
this as
no,
well.
no. I'm just saying The Price is Right draws more viewers than The View is what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I was just trying to say. But James Holtower, him, Ken Jennings, and Brad Rutter, another Jeopardy champion, they were all chasers the first 2 seasons. And then Mark Labatt, who was the beast from the UK, he was on the GSN version for a couple of seasons. He was brought back for the 2nd season. Now, there was one episode where James Holtower was the chaser, and he needed to catch 24, and he got very close. He got 22, and then there was one, it was like less than 10 seconds left, and he would have caught him too if he would have gotten the next 2 correct answers, but he ended up getting one wrong, and then all the contestants ended up getting it correctly and pushing him back, and then he got the next question wrong too, which was a McDonald's question, which is quite amazing. And
I hope you didn't just spoil this for somebody that may have wanted to watch.
Well, the chase is off the air, so it doesn't even matter.
Can you stream it anywhere?
Well, you can watch it on GSN. They still air it on GSN.
They have old episodes.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately, mine, I don't. I have 2 as well, but and they're. I'm not as detailed. And one of them I think is fair. I don't even know if I wrote it first. I don't think it's really underrated when I think about it. I respect the show, and I know you're going to respect the show because it's Jeopardy. And to me, that's a show that people, if you're winning on that, you have some skills, right? Like, we're not talking about spinning a wheel and guessing a letter here or anything like that. Like, it's hard, man. And like, there's nothing will. The one thing that made me realize I wasn't smart. 2 things in life make me realize I'm not as smart as I thought I was: the GRE test when I was going in for my first master's, and watching an episode of Jeopardy. Right, unless it's like the categories are. What was it? What sitcom was it? Was it Cheers? Where like every episode.
Yeah, Mike.
Every episode was like every category was the dream category for, was it Norm or Cliff?
It was for Cliff. Can I jump in? Is that okay?
You can jump in, and then I'll give you my other one. Because
that was my underrated, and I didn't want you, because I have this stuff written down. It's funny you say that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first off, I want to say, every time I watch a show, I'm entertained. I don't watch it that often, but it is, and Max, if he was not go on the show, Max Bailey, regular listener, he would absolutely kill it. He is outstanding at it. He's a quick thinker. And so, but what I did is I looked, here's why it's underrated. It is such a ubiquitous part of our culture. And I wrote down I took some notes on this. First off, the theme music, everybody knows. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, when people are waiting for something, and, everybody knows that. I will play a game we call it Trashketball, which is basketball in class. But the final question we call Final Jeopardy. All the kids understand how it works. These are kids. It was a regular part of Saturday Night Live. Now, they did Celebrity Jeopardy spoofs, but it was a regular part of that. Everybody knows the context of answer in the form of a question. Watson, when IBM came out with this bot, Watson went on Jeopardy. That was the place that they sent Watson first.
I watched that.
It was a part of Cheers. I wrote that down where Clip was on. It was a part of White Men Can't Jump. Became a very important part of that when Rosie Perez, Gloria is her name in the movie, she got all the categories she was good at too. So it was a very similar episode to what Cliff Clavin had. And I didn't realize this. It has been on since 1964, but in syndication since 1984. So it's been on forever. So for all those reasons, I'm calling it underrated, even though it's a super popular show.
And here's the thing too. It's one thing about just general knowledge and having the knowledge, but it also involves speed. Like, you have to have the hand-eye coordination, the speed to buzz in on these things. Yeah. And it also involves, in the background of all these things, math and just ideas of where other people are on the show.
Sure.
When you have like the daily double, like a lot of people don't realize, it's just answering these questions. No, it's not. It's like, I get this daily double, or where do I go on the board with there's only a couple of minutes left. So not only are you having to answer these questions, you're also having to quote unquote play the game that's there in the background. So that's why.
Listen, I did, and RenDawg, I'm sure you remember, Sports Radio 1130, Sean Belizean did a thing 3-2-1, and he would ask you, and it starts really simple. And I got on the air, and I'm just applying this to what is going on with Jeopardy, because you're saying all these things you got to think very quickly. He asked me name 3 players on Detroit Tigers. I could do that with my eye. Like, I totally froze, man. And I was out. And like that quick thinking, it's such a good skill to have. I so admire the people that do it. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then, did you mention it's been around as long? The original host was the late Art Fleming back in those days, for the 60s into the 70s. And then, of course, Trebek took over in 2020. I want to tell you guys something that happened. I know Peyote saw this. I don't know if you did or not, Gervasi on X. So I had a little dispute a few years back. Now, the last couple of years, I've been better, as far as, trolling and all that good stuff. So what happened was, after Trebek passed away in 2020, rest in peace, he was an amazing host for what he was. So Ken Jennings took over. He was the first host after he passed. He did 8 weeks, and then they did rotations after that. They did Mike Richards, who picked himself to be the host the next year, and that backfired so bad. He ended up only lasting a week to host. Then they had some other ones, like they had Katie Couric, Anderson Cooper, Peyote's unfortunate, dreaded quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, as a guest host. And I'll admit, though, even though I despise Aaron Rodgers, and I still do to this day, he did a good job hosting for 2 weeks.
I agree.
He really did. So I'm not going to deny that about Rodgers, even though I've always despised him in the NFL, and I still will. So he was one of the hosts. And then also Joe Buck even hosted as well. And he also is hosting ESPN Jeopardy, which is on Hulu. They just came out with it recently. So if you have Hulu and you want to watch ESPN Jeopardy, that's worth checking out as well for that. So then, so after that, after Mike Richards was canned after 1 week of hosting in the 21-22 season, Ken Jennings took back over, and then they went with Mayim Bialik after that. That's known for Blossom and The Big Bang Theory. So they guest hosted both of them for the 21-22 season. So I'm thinking, like, they got to at least come up with one host after that. So then for the 22-23 season, they decided to go with both Ken and Mayim Bialik. And I had a problem with that. And I had to describe why I felt Ken Jennings should be the host and not Mayim Bialik. It's just, Ken Jennings is just a smart guy. Like, he does a lot of stuff similar to what you guys do in a way. And he also is an author as well. Like, he's wrote a book and so forth. Like, he does a lot of research as well. And I just felt, and then, of course, his history, of course, winning 74 games, which is hard to beat, because the most that I've seen recently that most have won consecutively is 41, which was held by Matt Amodio and Amy Schneider, former Jeopardy champions. But I doubt anyone's going to get to that. So then I got into a dispute with some people because people were like, Ken Jennings is a dork, he's annoying, and this and so forth. But what I liked about Ken Jennings is he keeps up with the game. And then when Bialik was hosting, she was always slow in terms of when the daily doubles occur, and then when she's revealing the correct answer after that. Like, she was kind of slow at that, and I just didn't think she was a good fit to host Jeopardy. And people were like, I think women shouldn't host game shows and so forth, which I disagree, because like I like Elizabeth Banks hosting Press Your Luck, my underrated that I revealed and so forth. It just depends on the format. So I mean, I'm sure Mayim Bialik one day will eventually host a game show, and I just feel like I just think Jeopardy's not fit at all.
You can't die. You can't die on hills on X, Rennie. It's not worth the time or the energy. Trust me.
Well, that's why I've slowed down from that. After.
Yeah, it's not. Most people have, because it's not even that entertaining anymore.
Eventually left. She eventually left in the 23 season when the writer's strike occurred, and then Ken Jennings took over as the permanent host after that. So
all right, and he does a great job. So
yes, he does.
My other underrated. Can I go to my other underrated now, Mike?
Please do.
The total opposite on the spectrum of Jeopardy. And I know I sort of said dumb luck when I mentioned The Price is Right. This show's all about dumb luck, but for some reason I just liked it. It was Card Sharks. And I always liked it because goofy show. I always liked the first half of the show was, the first part was guess. We asked 100 people. So like, you got 10 people. We asked 100 people, how many people, and they do some scenario, and that would determine if you get to go first or second. And it was as simple as guessing which card's going to be next, higher or lower. You want to talk about this dumb luck? That's all it was. Let's see. Bob Eubanks, I think, was the most famous host. Rennie, I hate to steal your thunder
Yeah.
with
Oh,
hosts. I know that you like,
no,
but he was probably their most famous host. I see here Joe McHale. They did a reboot in 19 and 21.
they did. Yeah, but
I
I
never knew
watched.
that on
Yeah,
ABC.
yeah, but I watched it. Yeah, and Mikhail is very good too. He's currently hosting a new show. I actually started watching recently too. It's called the 1% Club, and he's done a very good job with that. But go back to Card Sharks again.
Oh yeah, and it was just a real simple format. Like even the questions at the beginning was just about general life in general. Out of 100 people, and you'd have to say higher or lower, right? How many people? The one person, like if me and you were on, Rennie, this many people. How many people, say they would, hate going to the beach out of 100 people, and I would say 63, and then you would, as the other person, would say higher or lower, and whoever was right would get to go first on the card. I mean, it was dumb but easy and entertaining and underrated.
I agree with you on that because I did watch the reboot and I watched the original too. The other host before Bob Eubanks, you forgot to mention, it was the late Jim Perry. He hosted
Yes.
for seasons and he did a nice job as well. And then Eubanks took over in the mid 80s, 86 to 89 after the Newlywed Game and so forth. And he did a very nice job as well. And then
Yep.
Joel McHale, he came back in 2019. Although it lasted a couple of seasons, but he still did a very good job. Was entertaining with the guests. And the format was the same as the original as well, and I agree with you on that. I
There we
definitely,
go. All right, that's fine.
I definitely,
That was my one out of left field. I thought I'd throw a little classic out there.
oh, absolutely, I liked it.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
and Rennie, this is obviously something. This was your topic. This was right in your wheelhouse. So great, overrated, underrated topic. So,
Well, I hope Max provides a lot of feedback because I know he loves Jeopardy. I know he's going to provide feedback for that, and I'm hoping Gary Bailey will mention some as well. So we'll see. All right.
maybe for our anniversary episode, so we could do like a live Card Sharks game in the episode. What do you think, Mike?
All right, let's try it.
Higher or lower?
Make it work, and we can try it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll see if we can do that. All right. Hot mic take. Do you want to start, Rennie, or do you want us to start? How do you want this to go?
You guys go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna. Mike, you go ahead and go first. I'll react to yours.
So RenDawg, I wanted to save this one for you. I know you're an old school Rat fan, and I don't have a yearly criteria. I did a lot of thinking. I truly did on this one though, and I came up with my old-ish school Mount Rushmore rappers. I want to get your thoughts. Okay, I had a lot of choices. I'm not going to do honorable mention or anything like that. I am just going to name my 4, whether it's rappers or rap groups, okay? And I want your thoughts.
Okay.
Got it? Okay, here we go. I got Tupac, in no particular order, by the way. Tupac, Ice Cube, Wu-Tang Clan, Jay-Z. That's my Mount Rushmore.
I don't mind it. I would take Ice Cube out of there. I mean, Ice Cube's had his hits, of course. He'd probably be one I would take out. But one I would put in though, instead of Ice Cube, I would throw in Nas, because Nas has put out a lot of bangers like from the '90s as well. I would put Nas over Ice Cube in that era. Now Wu-Tang Clan, I'm fine with the Wu-Tang Clan. They all were great. The only one out of that group that I wish would have gotten recognition as far as dropping albums, and unfortunately, he didn't get the recognition, was the Back Deck. Deck was great.
Absolutely. Now, if you don't mind me adding to that, I wasn't a Nas fan until about 2 years ago when the overrated Chris Pate took me to the concert with Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan now. Trust me when I tell you, I don't know why. I just didn't like him at the time. I love him now. So I'm with you on that. And trust me, I wrestled with this. The reason why I picked Ice Cube is because his first, I would say, 4 or 5 solo albums were so good. I thought after, beginning with Lethal Injection, things kind of went a direction I didn't like necessarily. But The Predator, Death Certificate, those were just amazing albums from start to finish. So that's why I had to include him in there. And if I'm really thinking that he might be my number 1, I have kind of I didn't like the later stuff, but I thought he was so outstanding. So that's why I included him. I understand why you wouldn't have him on there. Again, I have a lot of honorable mentions, but those were the four I came down to.
I have no objection to it at all. Like, because I love the Death Certificate album. That's one of my favorite albums by Ice Cube. And then the Predator is very good as well. Lethal Injection, it was a mixed bag for me. Like you mentioned, he did go in a different direction. He tried to go with the G Funk,
Yeah,
kind of like Ray and DJ Quick all did in the early '90s. And there were a couple songs that worked, and then there were a bunch on that album that did not work.
agree.
And then that the War and Peace 1 and 2, both albums were not great to me, and I'm sure you'll agree with that. Now, Jay-Z, on the other hand, I mean, Jay-Z, I don't know why people overlook him as far as East Coast rappers are concerned, because, I mean, he's put out a lot of albums, and he's put out a lot of bangers, especially that first album, which he did the stadium series at Yankee Stadium, doing all three shows, and the first show, of course, he dedicated the majority of the songs to his first album, Reasonable Doubt, which I think is his second best album in my opinion. And then my favorite album of his is The Blueprint, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just feel like he's being overlooked, mainly because he's married to Beyonce, and people forget about a lot of the bangers that he put out. I mean, he has a lot of great stuff, and he's worked with a lot of great artists throughout his life.
Absolutely, yes, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked with almost everybody, kind of similar to Snoop Dogg as well. Like, Snoop Dogg's worked with almost everybody, too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you got to give him his flowers for the hard work he put in, not only as a rapper, but also a businessman as well, you know, because he runs Rock Nation. Like,
Yep.
he does a whole lot, too. So, I mean, you got to give him his props for doing what he does, and that's why he's a billionaire for a particular reason for that.
Sure. Appreciate the insights, RenDawg.
All right,
Yep.
you ready? You want to go last, Rennie, or do you want me to? How do you want to do this?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I know this is going to shock the audience. I want to give mad props to Taco Bell, trying to build the bridges with the terrible Parasite. They've been doing these $1 deals in the app. Last week it was a Mexican pizza for $1. Hey, and we were talking about tough times and how expensive things were. Today, the day we're recording, Tuesday the 4th, election day here in Michigan, I did make a TikTok about this. $1 Mexi Melts, which is, first of all, it's nice that they're back. And secondly, $1. You can't even get a drink for $1 at McDonald's. I ran into Miss Josie, our wonderful parapro, in the drive-through, ordering Mexi Melts. I got one for myself. I got a couple other things, but I want to give props to Taco Bell in these tough times, you know, when, interest rates are up, gas is up. It seems like the only cheap thing out there are eggs. So I guess all we're going to be eating is omelets and egg salad sandwich. But Taco Bell, you deserve a big pat on the back. I know you're trying to get customers back. I got a Mexi Melt, which had pico in it, living on the edge a little bit here. So if we don't have an episode next week, and it's because I'm on the toilet, but it was worth the risk for $1. So shout out to Taco Bell. I never left you. I have faith in you, and thank you for your service.
Well, you should be lucky to not be on the toilet right now while we're filming.
I'm all right, Rennie. I'm knock on wood.
All right. So my hot mic take, I want to talk about the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I am.
So it passed, of course. I was really disappointed in the Skubal trade. I felt like they could have gotten a little more for Skubal. Now they got 3 pitchers, two pitchers and an outfielder that's apparently on the rise, from what I was told. And then
a lot of hope with him.
Yeah, for sure. But I felt like when you compare that trade to the Baltimore trade that they made, because Boston acquired Adley Rutschman and former Tiger Jake Rogers, who played in a couple of games for Baltimore after the Tigers got rid of them. Boston ended up giving up 5 guys to Baltimore, and I'm like, why could the Tigers not have gotten a few more guys instead of just 3 for Skubal? Like, he's the star of the game. Like, the Tigers could have gotten at least 2 more guys after that.
I don't think, RenDawg, I just to defend, and I've been very harsh on our GMs, I don't think the situations are comparable simply because Skubal is going to was going to walk, and I think the Tigers were in a position, the other trade really didn't have that same scenario, so I think the Tigers kind of had to do this. Again, Harris sounds like these are the guys he targeted anyway, but that could be just GM speak. But I do think the contract situation is what forced our hand. I think a fair criticism would be this should have been done at the end of last year.
Yeah, I think he had much more value. You could have got much better players last year.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And they went on an amazing run after the deadline last year, which we, enjoyed and whatever. But if you were really looking at getting his full value, that's why
Right.
the Pirates, when they have to get rid of Skeens in a few years, I hope they do it his second to last year with them
Yeah.
and not his last year. Although he's been playing lousy lately, so who knows?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that to you. What's up with Skeens? Like, why is his numbers out of sync right now?
I don't know. I think some of them. I think he's had a couple rough starts. His velocity's down a little. I don't think they say there's no injury. He's obviously not the same overpowering guy that he was. Something is different. I don't know. Who knows? But again, I'm not in panic mode. That's a lot of Pittsburgh fans are not in panic mode. I think, because he's had some good starts scattered in there. So I think we'll be all right. I don't think. Once that trade happened, I gave up on baseball for the year. Even though the Pirates were buyers, as Max, that was one thing Max texted us. They picked up they redid their whole bullpen actually.
Duvall from the Yankees, and then they got Kirby Yates from the Angels. So I'm glad they did.
And this guy from the Mets that they got, I guess, is supposed to be pretty good too. I guess he's might be the best one they picked up. So I don't even know the name. So I guess that's awful, but. But it is what it is. We're sort of in the same boat, Rennie, as a Pirates fan and Tigers. It's like until the game changes, this is what the reality of baseball is.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I feel though the difference is I feel the Illiches have a lot more money than the Pirates ownership does. So to me, it's like the Tigers are just not spending the money, whereas the Pirates owners, and I think he has the money to spend. But I don't fault Scooble at all. When I left that game with Dr. Rice on Friday, the late night host on 97 won the ticket was sort of bashing him for not answering questions for next year and whatever. When you're a Major League Baseball pitcher, I'm never going to fault a guy for getting the most money in the most years. I'm never going to fault him. That's their livelihood, and especially a pitcher whose arm could go in a blink of an eye. So I don't feel like, oh, he's not loyal to us. That's just the way it is. These guys are whoever's going to pay him the most is going to give them the most money. So
I agree with that. Now, I wasn't disappointed with Google getting traded because I knew he was going to get traded. So, I'm kind of glad that they did trade him. But like I said, I just feel like they should have gotten a little bit more for him. Now, I did like the Casey Mize trade at the last second, though, and where they got a couple pitchers in the Mize trade. I did like that, though, surprisingly, because obviously Mize, he's been injured a couple of times in the last couple of years himself. So I felt like they made the right move trading Mize away as well. Now, even though the rotation is going to be kind of like pitching chaos, kind of like it was in 2024. Yeah. But I still feel either way. I still feel like it's going to be 2024 all over again because I still feel like we still have a chance potentially. Like we just swept the Athletics. They're playing Seattle for 3, which is going to be a tough series, obviously, because they've been scuffling themselves. They're on the outside right now because as of right now, the wild cards is the Yankees, Red Sox, and Cleveland right now in the final 3 spots. And then the Tigers, well, we're filming on Tuesday. They came in 2.5 back. So if they can at least take 2 out of 3 from Seattle and then hopefully sweep San Francisco because San Francisco blew everybody away, getting rid of everybody. Elio Ramos, Luis Ariz, he went to Philly, much to POD's disgust on that. But as long as you take at least 2 out of 3 each series, and next week's going to be a big test too because we play Cleveland for 3 and then the White Sox right after. So it's not going to be easy, but it is one game at a time. So let's just hope they can at least take 2 out of 3 for Seattle and then hope for a potential sweep against San Francisco in San Francisco. So we'll see what happens, but I still feel we still have a chance though. Now, the final week of the season, I wanted to mention this to you, Pio, because I actually looked this up last night.
Who's your final games at home against?
Buccos, but here's something that I'm gonna surprise you on. I looked up your guys' homecoming game, right? You know when your homecoming is?
Our homecoming?
Yes.
Yeah, the 16th, 17th.
Of September or October?
No, October. We're late. We're way late.
I was going to say, because I looked it up and it said like October 4th or so. The question I have for you is, are you going to attend the Tigers-Buccos game to close out the season?
Dr. Rice has already talked to me about possibly going. He has 2 of those games, I think. So I think as long as it works into my schedule with work, I'll try to go to one of them, even if the Pirates aren't in it. I don't think the Pirates are going to be in it, to be honest with you. I'm a realist. But I've said this before. I said it to Evie Crampton when we were at the game. She was at the game with Florida. And I said this to a girl at work at the golf course as well. I hate to say this. Sporting events are better when the teams are worse. You can get better seats for cheaper. There's less people there, less lines for the bathroom. I know this, people are going to hate to hear this, but like when I went to Pittsburgh last year, they weren't very good. I got really great club seats for a steal. It's just true. I think back to when I had Lions season tickets, you couldn't give them away. Now, like years ago, when they were bad, I bought Steelers club level seats for like $70. Now you got to buy. People are like trying to get tickets to training camp. Like they're sold out. Like it's crazy to me. So in a way, being bad, there are some perks to being bad, including cheap tickets, easy tickets. So
well, it's not going to be cheap when the Dodgers come into town later in the month.
No, it's absolutely right. Well, how fitting. The Dodgers tickets won't be cheap. It's a shocker. I bet the parking will be expensive too.
How crazy would it be if Scuba was to pitch that weekend?
Yeah, it's that's my one fear with the Tigers. I know you're high on them. They gave away not only their ace, they gave away another okay starter too. And what do you need in those 3-game series? You need an ace.
Mm-hmm.
You need an ace.
Well, our starters, I mean, outside of Valdez, who has been so-so this year, I mean, Melton has been really good. Like, he did real good in his last start. He's pitching on Tuesday. Well, he's pitching tonight since we're filling on a Tuesday. He's been pitching really well. And then Kiter Montero, he's been both in the rotation and in the bullpen, and he's been terrific this year.
Rene, I agree, but they're not Cy Young winners. They're not your guy that's going to go out and win you game 1. You know what I mean?
Well, not if Montero is, because Montero last year in the playoffs, he ended up getting the save last year in the playoffs against Seattle. That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
Mr. Montero. So yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm not trying to now. I'm just me being the realist. That's what I'm going to do.
I mean, if we make the playoffs, we make the playoffs. If we don't, it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I hope for you they do. I'm a little overtime for you. So, but hey, listen, what a great episode. This might be a record length episode for anniversary, over an hour and 15 minutes. RenDawg, we had a lot to say. You were a great guest. I do want, again, follow his Instagram. If you're going to any of these events, check his story that day. He'd be a great guy to see. He'll, give you maybe some inside information of like a good place to take a picture, that sort of thing, or
and spots as well on top of that.
Yep. And which concession stand is a good place to hit up for a good dog or something too. But again, thank you for your time. It's always great to see you. I always appreciate it. I always make sure if I'm ever going down to something that I take the time to see you, and I consider you a great friend through all these years. You've one of the most positive people I know. Even when I'm down on my teams, you try to hype me up a little bit, even when I'm down on them. So
of course, yeah, I appreciate you guys, getting me on, and I want to give a couple more shout outs before we get off. Shout out to my third shift crew that's currently listening right now, my midnight job. I'm going to give them a shout out as well. Corey, Rob, they're currently listening as of now, so I want to give them a shout out, and my other colleague Cynthia as well. Without them, I wouldn't be doing my midnight job in the first place. So I want to give them their recognition, and then everyone else, all my close friends, that continue to support me any way I can. I appreciate you guys a lot, and without you guys, I wouldn't be here. Wouldn't be here without all you guys. Yeah. Oh, and I want to say one more thing, and just came to my mind at the last second. I want to say something, and so in regard to your stepdad, Mr. Javasi. Ken, I'm going to pull a Michael Keaton here, and I just want to say something to you, good sir. I am the big RenDawg.
I love it. I think that's a great way to end this episode, everybody. There you go, Ken. Great episode. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next week.